then my contact said, oh yeah, just, you can call us or they can call us and we'll just put them on the list. I'm like, that's it? Like no doctor's note or anything like that? He's like, I'm not worried about anybody, abusing it. I don't think that's the standard. But it does, you can see there's a wide variance here. Holler 5 sounds like they're not fully on board.
And to be consistent with our work, to be consistent, have some consistent messaging, it would be nice if we had one way across the entire county.
Yes, at least if there's a maximum burden that somebody must have or overcome in order to access this. So it's kind of like you can do better than that. You can have them perform less work or whatever, but this is the most that you should be having someone go through in order to complete this process.
Yeah, if you set the maximum burden essentially at proof of disability and communicating that to customer service and having a form that is provided by the hauler, and if the process is easier than that, great.
And and I don't think it's unreasonable to have a renewal, period or a term that it covers and then they renew it. But some of this kind of looks like the Wild West.
Yeah, it's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, and I was a bit surprised about it.
Yeah.
Be a little bit out of the wild.
I had conversations with a couple haulers and they were very accommodating, and so I'm curious who hauler number 5 is, but establishing that standard, I think a minimum standard or a maximum burden would be helpful once we get that clarification. Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments about the reasonable accommodation? Let's move on to the host agreement. Oh,
I thought we had a comment.
oh, do we?
I was gonna say 2 things. One, I did check with my friend and she said it was too cold. She didn't put her stuff out last night, so we don't know if they would have picked it up or not. We'll just have to wait 2 more weeks. And then the other is, I wanna say that the ADA law was passed in 1990, which by my math is 35 years ago, and it's hard for me to understand why this is all needs to be figured out. It seems like trade associations or regulatory agencies would tell us, this is how you comply. It doesn't seem like it's a mystery. It should be a mystery.
Well, I can say that not every hauler is a member of the trade association. Not every
Well, I don't
hauler is a
mean
member. Right, but I think we could probably get some agreement within members of the NWRA, and I think those are pretty well reflected in the accommodations. And I think some of and I'm not sitting up here stating, one way or the other, but you're trying to impugn those that aren't in that. But in our conversations, following the last meeting, it was, hey, does anybody not comply with this? Does anybody not feel comfortable with providing this accommodation? And the responses were, yes,
I will
absolutely.
happily say, as a disabled individual, I've been in the industry for 35 years. And this is the first discussion in public forum, the second discussion, if you will, that I've had about this situation. It's never come up in conversation before. So it is something that needs to be addressed, particularly from my perspective. I can't tell you how many placards I've had stolen out of my vehicle so people can park close to the Walmart. I can't tell you how many people I've seen run from the car to the Walmart when they do park in the handicap, but there will be abuse. We just have to take that for granted. But those people who need accommodation, we have to provide accommodation for. I do believe the ADA regulation is so broad, it doesn't specifically identify the issue that we are discussing here tonight. And I think with his help in everyone's discussion, we can come to agreement on it. We want to do what's right. Everybody wants to do what's right in the industry.
But it doesn't feel like we're reinventing the wheel.
I know, Sarah Lynn, it seems like it should be
Right,
so simple.
done.
And it's just, I promise you, you know how long I've been attending these meetings in this business.
We did.
First time it's ever come up. And I'm just saying, no, good thing my wife can take the garbage can down the curb, because the city doesn't go back up behind that house and get it.
Well, I mean, ADA wasn't specifically written regarding or governing waste hauling, so that's why there's, such a broad scope to this.
To answer one concern from Sarah Lynn, my goal was to find something specifically in the legislation that addressed this. And unfortunately, I was not able to find it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm just thinking, somebody would have figured this out by now. After 35 years, somebody's already done the work, and we don't have to do it over again. Are you a county attorney?
Yes.
So I guess you may have to take that risk. It just seems like this ought to be something we could do.
Yeah, there's a good chance someone we have a lot of attorneys. It just, the ADA hasn't come up in the context in which I work, but there's certainly someone in the office that will have some knowledge about ADA. We have people that work for the housing authority that would have dealt with it to some extent, so I'm gonna reach out to them. This is a different context, but at least they would have a good starting point.
Yeah, I think we'll either find something that exists, or if we don't, I don't think it's gonna be very difficult to say, these are the minimum requirements from haulers and the minimum requirements from municipalities in contracting to say, this is what's required.
And I submit that the next time that national entity has its conference, whatever, I can't even find its name, you have to give a presentation on how we solve this so we can protect other people who have to take months to fix a simple problem.
We'll see.
I'll help you. I'll put your slides.
Honestly, I think I think if we get a great resolution here and we have an answer, we need to shout it. from
We
the
do.
rooftops.
Because we're all getting older as a society.
Check.
Thank you.
Well, I'm sure part of this is that a lot of people don't know that there is such a thing as a reasonable accommodation. So that's likely most of the reason why we haven't heard about this, over the years, but we'll get there. Anything else for the reasonable accommodation? All right, let's move to the host agreement.
So we've hit on this off and on over the past 6 months, or maybe even longer, of our meetings. And just a reminder of what a host agreement is. It's a document that exists between a solid waste management planning area and a landfill that is within that planning area. And it stipulates a lot of things about what can be put into the landfill, what cannot be put into the landfill, community benefits, potentially the rates at which they would pay, and capacity assurance to ensure that there is enough capacity for the solid waste management planning area over the next 20 years. So ours started in 1994, I believe, is when the first one was created. It was a 20-year term. One of the things that took place at the time was there was a lot of discussion and there was a verbal agreement of sorts to continue certain parts of it. There was never a written agreement. And without that official document, it basically, we can now say after a search of high and low that it did not get renewed. So it is officially expired. So working with Tom Fitzgerald from the Kentucky Resource Council, he has been advising us and how we can do this. And after reviewing our 5-year solid waste management plans, one of the biggest things that he felt that we needed to fix was what was in that plan. He says that the last true consistency determination was in 1999 and 2000. And that is the amount that is that is there, minus how much it's been filled since then. The 5-year plans have confused it since then, and he feels like that we need to get it straight. So his recommendation was that we amend the plan. And as part of that process, the Waste District has to seek cabinet approval to amend the plan. So we have to, can we amend it? Yes, no. And once they give us that yes, no, then we have to public notice that. And it has to be in the newspaper. There's a 30-day public comment period. There is a public hearing for people to give their say in it. I'm not sure how many people would be interested in this topic versus a full 5-year plan. But we have to go through that process. And after this board hears the comments, reads the comments, hears the comments, considers the responses, finalizes and submits to the cabinet approval an amendment to the plan. You do that through adoption of a resolution. So that is the process. So the next thing here that Tom did for us was he created really the amendment that we need, or the application to amend that would go to the state. That is in your packet for all to see. It's in everyone's packet. And I put it briefly here. So the pages are page 9, section 3, question 4. The nature of the amendment is to correct the total authorized capacity within that plan. Let's see, further clarify that no additional disposal capacity is authorized since that consistency determination in 2000. So we're basically getting ourselves to start from square, where we know what the capacity is and what's been approved. So the formal application was in your packet. I think this starts us on the right path. There's more work to be done after we do this, but I believe that this is our first step. So what I would ask is that the board approve us moving forward with it, with our application to amend to the Kentucky Energy and Environment Cabinet.
Can I make a clarifying statement and then happily recuse myself from
Yes.
the rest of the
Very
conversation?
well. That's-
Sure. Well, I guess this pertains to WM. I mean, what you'll see on this amendment is, and what Pete alluded to, is the way that it was being reported in terms of the capacity at Outer Loop was essentially the flow rate for 10 years that was in the host agreement that said effectively the amount that's being disposed of shall not exceed essentially 1 million tons per year, I believe was the number, something along those lines.
It was a rolling.
Yeah, it was a rolling number, but what was being put in the 5-year plan was as remaining capacity, basically the flow capacity, as opposed to the remaining total capacity of the landfill. So it's clarifying that it's, because it seems like it's saying that there's a new 10 million tons, authorized every year, when that's not what was agreed on with the permit. It was, you're permitted this much space. This is how much space is remaining.
Yes. And if, I'm sorry.
The amendment is also, am I understanding that it's increasing the fee as well?
No, that was a section about potentially going further. There is the ability of a county or a solid waste management area to increase the fee for out of area waste. Jefferson County is its own planning area. Any waste coming from outside of that could have an additional 1.25%, as long as you can justify that. I could justify it really quick by saying we could direct it all towards litter along the roads where this waste comes in. But I think that trying to get ourselves set here, taking that next step, which I did include that information from Tom Fitzgerald in your packets, just so that I can get it in front of you. We can go further to discuss that if you guys want to. But I feel like that going one amendment at a time is the way that we should go. Less confusion.
Sean, can I ask a couple of questions? First off, there's a lot here for us to deal with potentially, and also to work it out with waste management on several of these issues. I guess first question I have, putting aside the numbers, which are all over the place, regarding the host agreement and the solid waste management plan, et cetera, putting that aside for a second, doesn't the host agreement also need public hearings if we were going to change it? So
Yes.
why not do, the host agreement is a mess. So why not try to deal with that first with waste management? And then address the issue regarding the solid waste management plan, or maybe do it together.
You're saying fix the host agreement first.
Correct.
I'm not sure that would be the recommendation of Tom, and I would love for him to weigh in on that.
Sure.
I think just knowing all of the facts first before you get into a negotiation is important. And that's would be my response to you. I would love to get into a host agreement negotiation. Number one, it's not a requirement that we have one. And part of the position, I'm not going to state WM's position, is they're willing to have talks about it, not that they've agreed to have a host agreement.
Mhm.
So I think putting ourselves in a better position, part of that was whether or not we would impose that another 1.25%, if that would give waste management some desire to negotiate a host agreement, not without giving away everything. Public forum.
No, that's no problem at all.
So,
I mean, I've stated that, before that we've agreed to that.
So that's kind of where it's at. And a lot of this stemmed from a disagreement on gross receipts long ago.
Yeah.
That was straightened out. So we're just trying to get ourselves on square footing before we really kind of move forward and create the future when it comes to this.
I guess the next question I have, and Andy, I'm sure is very familiar with this issue. I was involved in operating and closing 2 landfills in my prior career. So I'm very familiar with the issues of consolidation over time. We could come up with all kinds of numbers about remaining space, airspace, et cetera, tonnage space, et cetera, in that landfill. And they're going to change on every year, much less 5 years. So we put something out there with those kind of numbers, and then some clever person really notices that and then we try to explain the issue of consolidation of existing waste and how much more space that creates in the landfill over 5, 10, 20, 40 years.
Well, and that's always a running issue. I mean, if we're nowhere near, needing or wanting to expand, the landfill here, but in other areas where we've gotten close to running out of airspace. And again, people not understanding that people always ask how long a landfill will take to fill when you're permitted by volume and not by time.
Correct.
It's difficult, right? But I think what this does is more just clarifying and adhering to the format that the state is actually looking for, just to say this is the space available based on annual reporting. I mean, again, that number is going to change. We have a workbook that we go through every year that factors that, that consolidation in. If there is consolidation, that's going to allow us to access space in a cell that has already been filled.
Mhm.
But I think it's in terms of clarifying and meeting the need of Metro to have capacity assurance, this is more clear than the way that it was done before, and is more logical in the way that it creates less confusion than seeing a new number come in every year with a rolling cycle that looks like they're somehow permitting, space, year to year as it comes out, rather than saying we had an expansion that was completed on X date. It provided this volume. This is how much volume is left.
I just remember from years and years
Can
ago.
I jump in real quick? Because this sounds like this is mostly pertaining to the host agreement, which I do think.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was talking about just this
Just the 5-year.
Yeah, just the 5-year plan on that. So.
And I was addressing that issue too, because we're potentially putting numbers in here regarding space which of course relates to time, on this solid waste management plan issue, amending it and whatnot. That, as I was just about to say, in a prior life, we were getting towards the end of the landfill life, and we had having surveys done every year by consulting engineers, and they keep coming back. Got 2 years more life. Then they did the survey the next year. We got 2 years more life. Then they did the survey the next year. We get 2 more years life, and it almost got laughable after a while. Yes, it was all proper, based on the consolidation of that waste, from all of that weight of the existing landfill waste pushing down on everything that's below it and it degrading over time. So it almost got laughable. And so we do this, and then 2 more years approximately, we got to do the solid waste management plan again in 27. We may have very similar numbers in remaining space at that point in time, based just purely on consolidation.
We could, but what this is doing is it's removing any kind of subjective numbers that's been used in the 5-year solid waste management plans since that 2099 true consistency determination, and going back and saying, let's forget about all those numbers. Let's start from what we have authorized and approved at the state. Then we can calculate the volume since then, and we can come up with probably a better and more accurate number about how much space that we have left. I think that it's really it's going to clarify things in my mind to make it less confusing. And I will say this too, the 5-year solid waste management plan, when we did this last time, we went to the state and was trying to get clarification on this because it was confusing. I believe that the state was a bit confused as well. And Tom Fitzgerald says this is an education thing that needs to go on across the state to clarify how this process needs to work. So I think it's just putting us in a better spot. I think it's making sure that we know how we're supposed to do this in the future, not just here, but across the state. I hope that we can go down this path before we do anything else.
I just have one question. How confident are you in these numbers?
How confident am I in these numbers? I believe that you have certified people do these surveys. So I'd say that it's as accurate as we could be.
Okay.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, we have to certify with the state annually. The person who signs that document says, I certify to the best of my ability that these numbers are correct under penalty of law,
Right.
basically. So, I mean, it's, we want to keep track of, we don't want to lose an inch of that space,
Right.
Money.
personally. But I think one of the things that, in addition to sort of clarifying and making sure that we're in compliance as a board, not as WM, with KRS 224,
Right.
is it makes it a lot easier to determine the remaining volume based on the annual number reported. So if it says there are 45 million cubic yards remaining, and we show this is how many cubic yards were filled on our annual report, you just divide 45 million by the number that was brought in this year. And honestly, hopefully, if we keep improving recycling and diversion numbers, landfill life is going to expand.
Yes.
Because if you're taking in 85% of what you took in the year before, 82%, which is the ultimate goal of zero waste, is to take in less and less, then you're going to have a landfill that's permitted for the same volume that now has 200 years. I mean, we're nowhere near that, but it's, that's the idea. And that's where the confusion comes in when you're discussing volume and time. But in terms of the volume, that is the most accurate number we have.
Now, the report has it based on data from a survey in February of last year, 2024. Wouldn't it make more sense to wait another month until that February 2025 survey is done and we have new numbers?
When do
Sounds
you
like they're a lot
get
more
the-
current than the.
Yeah. When do you all actually see? I know when we have to report the numbers, but I don't know when they become available to, we send them to the state. I don't know when the state disseminates them back out.
Officially, it's every 5 years is when we,
Oh, no, I just meant in terms of the actual, the cubic yards remaining, like he mentioned the amount disposed in the landfill to date was 27 million cubic yards as of February of 2024.
that's a number that's not necessarily sent to us
Okay.
until we ask.
Yeah, I mean, we file quarterly reports with the state. It really depends on when the state updates the website or when Tom pulled that information, from the website.
Yeah, and I think that it basically starts from when you ask. I mean,
Yeah.
because 10 years from now, we want to do this calculation. We
Okay.
call the state and say, what is,
Well, and Tom may be backdating it to the start of the 5-year plan. That may be why he was going back to the beginning.
He
of
did have a date.
2024.
That's what I was thinking.
So I think that's probably why he's using an older one, as if it's to say, this is what should be listed at the start of the 5-year plan. He's probably going back to the first quarterly report at the start of that term instead of using whatever comes out, or came out in November of last year. But that's just a guess on my part.
That's fine. Thank
Is it essential? I'll just, off the top of my head, this question. Is it essential that we do something in 2025 versus waiting until 2027 when the next 5-year plan has to be submitted?
I believe that we'll know the number. It's officially, we have to put it into the 5-year plan. But once I think that we know where we're at, I think it makes it easier for us to negotiate, to go ahead and start negotiating a host agreement sooner after we get this done. So I don't know if I answered your question.
No.
So I think
but-
what you're saying is like that this is gonna help create part of the basis of our negotiation for the host agreement.
Agree,
Got it.
along with the next slide.
you. Next one. Oh, that's fine. Okay.
All right. And you need action on that?
You want to do it together, you want to?
Well, if we can do any action on the sending the amendment, application to amend, that would be what I would want. Just the application to amend the 5-year solid waste management plan.
And that's not inclusive
Not
of
in-
this fee
Correct.
change.
Yeah, I want to treat them as separate if we could.
All right. And,
I make a motion that we send the amendment to the state for the 5-year plan.
I second
any further discussion, questions? All right, you want to do a roll call vote?
Sure.
Andy, are you, Saying you're recusing
I'll
yourself?
abstain. Just
Okay. All right, Mr. Funk,
No.
Ms. Davidson?
yes. Yes.
Yes. And I'm yes. All right,
Thank you.
Host agreement, let's, all right, you did want to talk about
Yeah,
this fee,
just-
so we'll
just-
do that before we get to the conference.
Just briefly, this would be the second step, and I guess I kind of already explained it. The potential for us to impose the additional 1.25%. Part of this will probably go through the Metro Council section of this, so that's another reason why I want to take this step by step. And I don't want to have two amendments to the 5-year solid waste management plan at the same time if we don't have to. So I think the first one will go fairly quick as they can go. So then we would take this one up. So really, there's nothing else to discuss with it. I'm sorry.
Why does this become a 5-year plan issue? As compared to just standing on its own?
Any significant, well, what we would have to do is ask the state if we have to. What they would say is it would be a minor or a major modification. A major modification would have to go through the public comment section.
Mhm.
If they deem it minor, it would just be able to be incorporated without going to public comment. I don't know how they would rule on this one. But generally, the 5-year plan needs to have these types of things in there. So, yeah, whether or not we put it in there, may be a really good question. I'll have to look at that.
How much waste do we currently get, or I should say what the landfill receives? How much waste does the landfill receive that is currently from non-Jefferson County, Kentucky?
I can't give you a solid number. I would have to look. So I do know that waste comes from at least 96 counties other than Jefferson County.
Really?
Of course, the further away that you get, probably that's what they were.
That's the
Allowed in the old
footprint. That's, I can tell you it doesn't come from, there's a report for count tons by county, for each disposal facility in the state. So,
Okay.
Before we do move
Yeah,
forward,
yeah.
I think that I would probably want to get some statistics on how much waste that we're talking about.
And
That
I
would be
assume
important.
people are going to want to know what this additional revenue would be used for.
You'd have to justify it, which to me, in my mind, would be justifying it by putting it towards litter collection along the interstates where where these waste trucks pass by.
Buying a whole new fleet of street sweepers.
That's public works. So that would be commingling public works funds, right?
Well, you bought a garbage truck recently.
It was through an agreement for the pop-up drop-offs.
Mhm.
So that's how that agreement was created. So there was a give and take on that. So you can use these license fees for general revenue of the county. But ours is a little bit different in the fact that it has to go through this board to be able to expend those funds. And they has a responsibility to make sure that it's spent on solid waste stuff for the Waste Management District countywide.
So we're not taking action on this right now?
No, sir.
All right, let's go to the 2025 Kentucky Solid Waste Recycling and Sustainability Conference.
So we did have a little bit of a staff report, and that was just to tell everybody that the annual reporting is taking place, which I did discuss earlier, so I feel like that we're probably pretty good on it. So, so this is, I told you that this was coming probably 2 or 3 months ago right before Christmas, but we finally got some details, and that letter, I believe, is in your packet. You could go to, I believe, their website and see what they have planned. And you can also sign up for it. Unless somebody just wants to go to the hotel, I don't know why you would want to, but if you live here, but you can sign up. You cannot sign up at the door. You have to do this with their registration, online registration. So if anybody's wanting to do that, just let us know. And I believe, just like the recycling conference, I think we could take care of any fees for board members and advisory committee members. This meeting is really important, and we want to get the word out that this is here. This is, I think, the first time in a long time that the state has conducted one of these, and it's going to hopefully plot the course for better management of waste in the Commonwealth. Because we haven't done a whole lot in the past 20 years, in my mind.
And my apologies, I was looking at the original agenda that turned out separately. So we had the conference up a little bit higher in the agenda.
Oh, I'm
So I
sorry.
was trying to skip over your staff report.
Okay, it's all good.
All right, so do you need interest from the board? Do we have any interest for attending this conference?
I plan to attend, but I would have attended, outside of the board.
I have to check my schedule.
I'd be interested in it.
Mhm.
We'll definitely have staff there for sure.
Okay. All right, so process to attend would be to email you, Pete?
You can, and we can help get through the registration process.
Okay. I think it's around $275.
Yeah.
Something like that. Early bird's closed, but $275, I think, is about half of what the last
Mhm.
conference was.
Less than that, yeah.
All right, anything else for the conference? Anything else for the staff report you're relaying that we're in the middle of reporting?
No, nothing else.
All right, then let's go to the JCLC presentation tomorrow.
So you want to take it?
Yeah, so Pete and Sandra Leonard and I are going to be attending on behalf of the 109 board, the Jefferson County League of Cities member meeting tomorrow evening. So that is at 7:00. And we'll be making a presentation. We'll have kind of an open forum for this, but we'll be discussing the board, kind of the history, the functionality of the board, some things that we're working on. And I think, part of the goal of this is to communicate and educate the home rule cities. And another function of this is to, continue to work to build trust with cities so that we can collaborate on some things in the future. Because some of the items that we've discussed in the past, especially if we're going to try to do something with like reuse or something to that effect, some of these cities would be a really good testing ground for a system like that. So we can get good cooperation and collaboration with the home rule cities, then I think it's going to help us quite a bit going forward.
Yeah, in that presentation, once we get everything, it will be available to people if they want to see it. So
Can we preemptively request that? I know it says it'll be available to all board members upon request. Would you mind just sending it out to everybody? I don't think anybody.
I don't see any reason why we couldn't.
Oh, no.
Just in case we forget to ask for it, just so we know that it's there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no reason that can't be public information. And Pete's put a lot of work into this, so thank you for all the work that you put in. I know my contribution has been just a small fraction of that.
I believe that building the trust is a major thing, particularly with the history of the community and trying to be able to do this and let people understand why the Waste Management District exists. We've never been invited before to be able to do this. So I think that this is an opportunity for people to understand what we're doing. And, as part of the presentation, it's also to discuss things that the Waste District does and suggest ways that we can collaborate that could potentially help the community. One of them is like the Recycle Right. We want to do it, and we've done it in several of the home rule cities, but we're not sure how many people really know about it. So it's an opportunity for us to be able to put our good foot forward and let people know why we're here and what we do. So I think it's a good thing.
Most of the hesitation right now with the home rule cities is that they're concerned that the 109 board or local metro in general is going to, contract out, the entire city and basically take over that functionality so that they would lose kind of some of that sovereignty of being a home rule city. And, that's why we've discussed kind of that topic a few times. And I think part of the purpose of this is to not present it as we're going to take over that for the home rule cities, but that the cities that contract out and have this bundled service of, trash and recycling and yard waste, that's the format that is kind of ideal. And theoretically, your recycling rates and everything are going to go way up, and your illegal dumping would probably go down significantly as well. So
That would be nice.
yeah.
What's the attendance usually for this?
Probably like 50 plus at least. There are 82 incorporated cities in Louisville Metro. So while not every city is represented during this meeting, a lot of cities are not members, like paying members of Jefferson County League of Cities. They still, work on behalf of the cities in general. But a lot of the member cities attend. Some like community partners may attend, and then we'll have guest speakers. Jeff O'Brien has been there. Tarek has been there. KIPTA, different organizations like that. So, it's really intended to be a resource and education for the cities in general, but I think even people outside the cities would benefit from it.
If I go and didn't make it a public meeting or any kind of whatever.
I would not think so.
Since
Well,
the
Just
two of
don't
us-
sit next to nobody.
You wouldn't be voting on anything either.
I will also, I will say that Kevin's wife is a councilwoman for Shively, so he could simply attend with her and,
You just have to change your hat every
That's
couple
a
of
member
minutes.
city.
Yeah.
I'll sit in the back with it.
So there's that option also.
I don't wanna mess up nothing, but just show up, like, okay, now we're.
Now everything stated is legally binding.
All right, any more feedback, questions about the JCLC meeting? Okay, I'm sorry? Oh, it's, when is it's,
Where?
where? It is at, Linden, the city of Linden City Hall, which is, it's on Wood Road. I would have to look up the exact address.
I'm trying to see if I can pull it up now.
I just-
515 Wood Road.
Yes. And then again, that's tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. All right. Our next board meeting is not January.
Right, it's February 26th.
26 at 5:30. And we're still here until,
It's during the conference.
That's in the conference.
Let's see.
okay, we did talk about maybe moving it anyway.
Yeah. We talked about that.
Yeah, let's see, the advisory committee is on the 19th. Is that during the conference also?
No, it's the 25th to the 27th is the conference. I was looking, or trying to look for the agenda for the conference, just to see if there is a conflict that evening. You said may still want to move it, if it's just gonna take too much there, but let's see.
I have it up here. There's a dinner at the conference, 6:30 to 8:30,
Okay.
a reception and a board meeting, 5 to 6
Okay.
on Wednesday.
The 27th, or we could move it to the same day as the advisory committee.
I won't be there on the 19th if you do that.
Is there anybody else that wouldn't be able to attend on the 19th? Would be in Frankfurt. All right, so we have at least 2 people who wouldn't be able to make it on the 19th. And
Do we have anything that we're expecting to need an immediate report back on? I know that we have the ADA, the ADA compliance issue, but I didn't know if there was anything that was else that was pressing.
The biggest thing would be certification of the annual report.
Okay.
which is due to the state March 1st.
Okay.
But I will tell you this, we've never.
Never made that
March
before.
1st.
Right, because you're still waiting on, yeah.
We're different than most of the other counties out there. We've got a lot of reporters.
Okay, so we had a request to move it to the 27th, which is a Thursday. Is anybody opposed to that? All right.
Does that pose any problems to Metro?
Yeah, because,
I mean, I know that you all are staffing the meeting, so I don't want to
right.
obligate you all if there's a conflict there either.
The conference doesn't have anything that night, right?
No. that goes till this-
Yeah.
Pete, can you?
Should not be a problem.
I think it just unmuted because of this.
It's International Polar Bear Day. in case anybody's worried about it.
We'll invite one.
Yeah, new mascot.
How's that? Sounds like that.
It doesn't seem like it's.
We're good. Okay.
Yeah, go to New
Alright, so
Orleans and see
we
if
get,
there are members there.
A motion to move the meeting from February 26th to February 27th at 5:30.
I'll move.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, meeting is moved to the 27th at 5:30, right here.
I'll change that on the placeholder that I sent out. And just so you know, you get lots of little notifications on that, but I'll change the placeholder and so he can send out the other stuff later.
Perfect. Thank you, Karen. Advisory committee on the 19th, 4:30. Anything else for the cause? All right. Well, with that, meeting is adjourned.
Look at that. 6:46.
What's your name?